Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Bridge Builders of Diversity. Today we're going to talk about dyslexia.
We are.
And dyslexia is close to me too. My older son actually has dyslexia, and as most of you know who follow us, my younger son has Down syndrome. So I'm going to start off with the definition of dyslexia. The definition is a specific learning disability that is neurological in origin. It is characterized by difficulties with accurate and or fluent word recognition and by poor spelling and decoding abilities. These difficulties typically result from a deficit in the phonological component of language that is often unexpected in relation to other cognitive abilities and the provision of effective classroom instruction. Secondary consequences may include problems in reading comprehension and reduced reading experience that can impede the growth of vocabulary and background knowledge. So I'm going to have the teacher simplify that for everybody.
I'm going to simplify that too. So what that means from an educational perspective, or what you might see as a parent, is a child with average or above average intellect. So their ability to learn is not impacted by dyslexia, but the way they learn is impacted by dyslexia. So a child with dyslexia or an adult with dyslexia is going to need very explicit and direct, often very repetitive reading instruction, because it is like the name says, it's a separation from lexia, language. So it's a difficulty connecting to language. So,
and there's very specific learning styles like Orton Gillingham and the Wilson Project.
The Wilson program, yeah, right. That's what got me interested in this. I just took Wilson training, which is long and extensive, but the beginning of that training taught me more about dyslexia. Now, I've worked with students who are dyslexic, and one of the things I do have to say about these students in particular is they are very intelligent and very hardworking. So oftentimes students with specific learning difficulties like dyslexia are labeled as lazy or unmotivated because they are so bright, but their work doesn't reflect their ability. So now that we know what dyslexia is, some of the symptoms, what to look for, are going to be a delay in speech, difficulty recalling or naming letters and numbers, and one of the things you look for is automaticity. And when a child is very, very young, one of the things you can screen for is by using colors. Take the colors that you know they know, and have them just automatically tell you what color something is. You can do it with any kind of toy. What color is this? What color is that? What color is this? And if they can really quickly and fluently recall the names of those colors, then dyslexia isn't going to be as much of a concern. You're not going to want to go down that avenue. Now, as children get older, you're going to look for misspelling words that they know, like their name. To me, that's a big red flag, because one of the first things you learn to spell is your name.
Right.
You're going to have difficulty learning numbers and trouble with learning in general because of that disconnect from language. And so much of our learning is language-based. And so much of our demonstration of what we've learned is language-based. Tell me what you've learned.
And dyslexia also typically runs in families as well.
What a beautiful segue, because one of the things that causes it is it can run in families. Mm-hmm. So if you have someone in your family or yourself had learning difficulties, it may have been dyslexia. Also, I didn't know this until I looked on the Yale Center for Dyslexia and Creativity, which is an amazing resource and can lead you to helpful places to get resources. Is a premature birth weight. Premature and low birth weight children are prone to dyslexia. Exposure to alcohol or drugs during pregnancy, including nicotine. An infection that alters the development of the brain in the fetus, that can lead to a dyslexia. People with dyslexia often lead normal lives. In fact, there's actually a list of famous and very successful people with dyslexia, one of them being Greider, the Nobel Prize winning molecular biologist. So she's someone that speaks very openly about her dyslexia and her learning struggles as a child in school. So
yeah, a lot of famous people like Henry Winkler.
oh, that's right, I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh.
So there's a lot of famous people that we all know
And
who are
think
very
about being
successful.
an actor and you have to memorize lines and having to read big scripts and things like that. And that must be really, really tricky. They must have developed
Right.
strategies.
But dyslexia can also be a superpower because they see the world very differently. They have a 3D mind. So, and of course, in this new age that we're living in with all the computers, this is a great time for people with dyslexia.
Right,
And
to think differently.
Yes, thinking differently is going to help them in this new age of technology that we live in. And I just want to share for parents, like when my son was younger, because he talked fine and he was still passing in school, but he was struggling. And his younger brother has Down syndrome, and I noticed his brother who had Down syndrome could read written text and would know just plain black and white stuff was, and my oldest son wouldn't. And I'm like, that's not right. And they're almost 3 years apart in age. So I started pushing the school, and my son would try reading. It was very labored reading. He said he felt stupid because all his friends in school could read, and it wasn't for lack of trying.
Again, really hard workers.
Yes, and one thing you should ask your children, ask them how they see text. You can get this online. I don't remember where I got it, but these are the different ways that children with dyslexia can see written text, and it's very important to talk to your ophthalmologist, and also have their hearing checked.
Yes, very important to have a hearing check, because one of the key indicators of dyslexia type learning difficulty is an inability to make a connection between phonemes, which is the sounds of words, and the graphic, meaning the letters. So they're not making letter sound association. So that's a really early indicator. And according to one of the doctors, one of the physicians, let me get his name. Oh, this is a tough name, so excuse me if I'm messing up your name. It's Dr. Ilya Alexandrovsky. He says early detection is key. Absolutely. Because so many times what happens is a child with dyslexia will develop like a depression, anxiety,
low self-esteem,
very low self-esteem, and oftentimes there'll be a behavior problem in class. So that itchy kid might be itchy because they're not connecting to language and they're not connecting to learning. But remember, their intellect is normal or above average. So,
and there's a big difference. My son, who I the school wasn't very kind to me because they were like, oh, you just want your kid to have a label or whatever.
Right.
And like, I have learning disabilities myself, and dyslexia is in my family. So I was very keen on it. And my older nephew who had dyslexia, very smart kid, but people thought he was just being lazy, and he didn't get the help and the interventions that he needed. And that has really been a little bit of a detriment to him in his older years now.
I'm sure it impacted his view of himself and his abilities. I mean, when you're listening to everyone around you reading without difficulty, reading fluently and with meaning, and for you that's the most difficult thing, how is that going to make you feel about yourself? So yes, like Dr. Alexandrovsky says, sorry again if I'm killing your name, because he has a lot of really good information here. It causes discouragement and frustration. Like I remember speaking to a student in my early years of teaching and saying, oh honey, why don't you like to read? Because I know you're going to love this. You should have loved this book. It's about horses, which is something that you really are interested. And he looked right at me and he says, because I can't trust that page.
Right.
And I can't trust it. So he was experiencing those visual
disturbances.
difficulties.
That's why it's important to get their eyes checked out, because it was my son's ophthalmologist that actually told me to get him tested for dyslexia, and it was his with prompting that, you know, I was able to get him right to intervention, because if your kid's passing school and they're not a year behind and failing,
Right.
it's very difficult to get a child with learning disabilities assistance in school. But
If they're
fought
passing,
for it.
it is very difficult. But remember, as a parent, you have every right to request testing.
I actually had to pay out of pocket to get my son tested because they wouldn't. But it is your right as a parent. It is your right
as a parent to request testing at any time. So,
hang on
one of the other things that Dr. Alexandrovsky says is that dyslexia can affect your quality of life. It can affect individuals in their emotional and social life because they can develop low self-esteem and may withdraw socially. So academic success and employment are often tied together. Remember, going to apply for a job, often you're asked for your college transcripts or your high school transcripts.
That's why trade schools are awesome, especially for kids with learning disabilities, to learn a trade. A lot of them are very good with their hands.
Well, I always advocate trade schools to people because have you ever tried to find a plumber? It's very difficult. We need more
and they make more than teachers.
Teachers. Everybody, I'm laughing and because inside I'm crying.
Right. But don't knock the trade schools.
No, never. So again, it can affect your quality of life and your perception of yourself. So early detection is key.
It is. Even my son, who has dyslexia, and he was diagnosed with severe dyslexia, he has made first honors. He made the Rhode Island Honor Society. He got scholarships towards college. He's actually going into a trade. He's going to trade school.
Unfortunately, not a plumber, which is what I'm looking for right now.
No, HVAC.
Close.
He did think of plumber. That was first on his list.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he changed his mind.
Yeah. Well, Mom helped him change his mind.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, you don't have to deal with human waste in HVAC.
Oh, see, I would have pushed him to plumber because then
she needs a plumber.
I need a plumber. It's a really long waiting list. I've been waiting a very long time. But on a serious note, the prognosis for dyslexia is very good when there's early detection and early intervention.
Absolutely.
And I would suggest counseling too, to help with that frustration and that anxiety around school and help the student develop a good self-concept, because again, look at the Henry Winkler and
wasn't Thomas Edison too? Didn't his teacher write his mother a letter saying that she didn't want to make...
Was it Thomas Edison or was it
it was Thomas
Albert Einstein?
Oh, Albert Einstein. I believe he was on the spectrum. Yes, he didn't speak till he was 5. But Thomas Edison also, interesting story. His teacher actually sent his mother a letter saying that, she wasn't really smart enough to be in school. But Thomas Edison's mother did not read him the correct letter. She made up her own letter saying that your teacher doesn't want you in school because you're so bright and everything. And here's the guy who created electricity.
Right.
So, but look it up. And other things, the International Dyslexia Association is another great resource. And this is also the International Dyslexia Association.
Yes,
they have
excellent resources.
Yes.
And if you like our content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Smash all those buttons. I'm Sherry. I'm a mother of a child with Down syndrome and also dyslexia. My oldest son doesn't really like me talking about him much, so I don't mention him that often.
He shall remain nameless.
Yes, he's a little shy, I guess. And this is...
I'm Roberta. I'm a special education teacher, and together we are bridge builders of diversity, seeking to build bridges of understanding through education and dialogue. If there is anything you want to know more about,
Yes, comment down below.
make sure you comment. We would love to hear from you. And you know, we love to look things up, and we're always learning new things, and we want to share it with you. So
Yeah, because we're kind of nerds.
a little bit.
A little.
Bit. But I heard being nerdy is cool.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're cool.
Absolutely, we're cool. All right, smash all those buttons, guys. We appreciate you watching. Thank you.
Thank you.